Hello everybody, in today's video we are going to cover a few other responses in this situation after e4, e5, knight f3. Let me recall the most frequent option is knight c6 by black, which leads to some popular games like Spanish, which we played in the previous video, Italian game, Scotch game, and so on. But in today's video, we are going to cover other responses by black here on the second move. First, we are going to see some bad responses which are played by amateur players, frequently some gambits, and then we will see two other responses which are playable even on master levels. First one will be so-called elephant gambit. If now black plays d5. If black plays d5, this is already some advantage for white, and in most lines white will be in a huge advantage, but white really needs to know how to play this opening. It can be dangerous too, and of course black can easily also get a certain advantage if played badly by white. So in the first move, we are going to take that pawn. We do not have much option, and the best response here is simply to take that pawn on d5. It's not a free pawn. Black can recapture with the queen, but we will easily chase the queen, and actually in most lines we will have at least a small advantage, but frequently a big one. So let us see what are now playable by black. If black plays bishop g4, so if black plays bishop g4, attacking our knight, which is now pinned, and after that black can also push his pawn to e4, further attacking our knight, but we can prevent that with simple developing move knight c3. With knight c3, we both protect our d5 pawn, and we also cover e4 square, so pawn to e4 is not playable anymore. So this is a good developing move for us, and actually we are already in a huge advantage here. So bishop to g4 was not the best response by black here. Let us see what other can black play in this position. So we step back, and if now black plays knight to f6, attacking our pawn on d5 for the second time. Now we have a free pawn on e5, so we will simply take on e5. Knight takes e5. So this was also not the best play by black. So what else can black play here? We step back. If black plays bishop to d6, protecting that pawn, we will simply play d4. We will play d4. Now e5 is protected, but we will attack that pawn for the second time. Now So we are not afraid if black pushes the pawn to e4 because his king is in the center. We have plenty of options here, and this was maybe somewhat better play by black, this bishop to d6, but still white is better here. Okay. I step back. These are still not main lines of this elephant gambit, so I show only some ideas first, and then we will go with some other variants more deeply. So we step back here, and now if black decides to play c6, challenging our pawn on d5. This is also playable on amateur level, but here we again have a free pawn here on e5 with decent advantage here. So we play like this. Okay. Now if black captures the pawn on d5, as announced that this is possible, that this was not actually a free pawn, but we play a developing move again, knight c3, attacking the queen, and we are ahead in the development, so white is certainly better here. And finally, we are going for the main line. So what was the reason why black played like that? So the most frequent response which you can expect if your opponent knows why he plays the elephant gambit, you can expect that the opponent will play immediately e4, attacking your knight on f3. So black didn't recapture the pawn, but black is instead attacking our knight on f3. And here you really need to know how to play this, because there is only one move which gives you an advantage. So if you play anything else, then queen e2, the black will achieve his goal. So only if you know that after e4 you need to play queen to e2, you are in a decent advantage. Anything else will give satisfaction to black. Black will be happy with any other move because black will know that he knows this opening better than you. So queen e2 is the key move here. Of course, now pawn on e4 is pinned. Pawn cannot take your knight on f3, and now the battle starts. Now you are better, but you need to prove that you are better, that you will not fall for some maybe further mistakes. So what can you expect now that black will play? There are several options for black further here. Some players will play developing move bishop to e7. Maybe they decides that they didn't achieve anything with this e4 pawn, and they are going for developing the king side, bishop e7. But now we simply take the pawn on e4 with the queen, and actually we are 2 pawns up at this point. So this was really a bad opening for black with this play. So we step back. If instead black plays queen to e7, this is somewhat better. And now queen protects the pawn on e4. And now the best play for white is knight to d4. You now need to move the knight. The pawn on e4 is no longer pinned, so your knight on f3 is in danger now, and the best place for this knight is here on d4. So knight d4 is the next key move here in this elephant gambit to give you an advantage. Okay, we step back and see some other options by black. Black can take queen takes d5, and you can expect that some amateur players will play like this, but this is already a huge mistake. This is already a huge advantage for white. We will now play knight c3 again. This move has several purposes. It is a developing move. It attacks queen on d5 and attacks pawn on e4. So this is a crucial good move in this position. And now black needs to move his queen, and there are many options. We will cover frequently played ones. If black queen goes to excuse me, to a5 now, we will simply take free pawn on e4. So, and we are again a pawn up, but also more than a pawn. We have a huge advantage in development here. Actually, in this position, whatever black will play with the queen, we are actually in the winning position here. So we step back and we see other options. What can black play by the queen? The most frequent options. So if black goes back to d8 with the queen, we again take the free pawn on e4. Again with a huge advantage. Okay. If queen goes, black queen goes to f5, we don't have a free pawn at the moment, but now the key move actually we have, because we are attacking the pawn on e4 twice, but I recommend that we go with d3 move instead. E4 pawn is pinned, the black king is in the center, so we attack this pawn for the third time, and black's pawn cannot capture neither on f3 neither on d3, and we are also opening line for our bishop, so d3 is the best and recommended here in this position. Black pawn will fall anyway on the next move. Okay, let me step back. If queen protects the pawn from c6, we already discussed that actually this pawn is not protected because it is attacked twice, but in this position I recommend that we go instead of taking immediately the pawn, we can play further developing move, queen to e3. Maybe it looks a little bit strange, but we are opening line for our bishop and still keeping the threat of taking on e4. So queen e3 is recommended here. And finally, we step back, and the last option which you will eventually encounter in this position is queen to e6. So if queen to e6, we can again take the pawn on e4, but again I recommend further pressure immediately. This is knight to g5, attacking both the queen and the pawn on e4 for the third time. So in this position, we are completely crushing the opponent, but we need to be careful and go carefully with our attack further. Okay, this was the option if black takes our pawn on d5. We will see another two options. These are first f5. If black decides to protect e4 pawn with f pawn with f5, we immediately challenge e4 with d3 again. We are using that the pawn is pinned, that still our queen is on e2 and black king is in the center on e8. So we are playing d3. So these pawns are not safe, black pawns are not safe at all, and we will easily gain an advantage here. So d3 is a key move here. And finally, the last option, probably the best one for black, is knight to f6. So instead of taking d5 pawn, black plays f6, which attacks d5 pawn for the second time and also protects e4 pawn. So this is probably the best move here in this position for black. But now we play knight c3 again. We are simply developing, attacking the pawn on e4. We already saw this knight c3 move for several times, and this is also the best recommended option here. So we are attacking e4 pawn for the second time. And now, actually, black doesn't have many good options. There is one reasonable one. This will be bishop to e7, and actually all other options are pretty bad for black. We will see which other moves you can expect that black will play and how you need to punish those moves. So let us see several options for black in this position. If black plays bishop to g4, if bishop g4, then we simply take e5, e4 pawn with the knight. Actually, knight takes e4 will be the move in almost all positions, not all, but almost on any move by black. In most situations, we will play knight takes e4. So after bishop g4, we takes the pawn. I am stepping back. Other options are, for example, bishop c5, attacking our f2 square, but we are again taking the pawn, knight takes e4. Okay, I step back. Another option for black is queen e7. Now black decides to protect the pawn on e4. So now we cannot take the pawn. It's not a free pawn anymore. But now we can play knight to g5, very strong move, knight to g5, attacking that pawn for the third time. So knight g5 is the move, and we are probably going to take e4 with that knight on the next move. Okay, I am stepping back, and we see the last two options for actually the last four options. We have several more options for black here. If black plays bishop to d6, a developing move, then d3 is again strong because e4 pawn is pinned. So this pawn cannot take our pieces because e4 is pinned, and so d3 is very strong in this position, opening the line for our bishop, attacking e4 for the third time, and so we are in a huge advantage here. If black plays bishop to b4, attacking our knight, but our knight is not pinned because there is no danger if we move the knight, and we are simply taking the pawn, the free pawn on e4 again, and we are in a huge advantage. Okay, we step back, and now the last two options are bishop to f5, protecting e4 pawn this way. But now we have a very strong move, knight h4. Knight h4 directly attacks this bishop, and there is no good move for black here, and actually we are in advantage here. Actually, if we summarize, I step back. Actually, we see that black actually cannot fight for this e4 pawn anymore. e4 will fall, and actually the best option for black is to play developing move bishop to e7, which will unpin that pawn on e4, and our best option here is simply to take it immediately. Now after bishop e7, we take e4 pawn with the knight. So we will not go more deeply. So I wanted to show you that you need to know just few first moves here. The key moves here are queen to e2, knight c3 whenever we threaten something with that, d3 if e4 pawn is pinned, and actually we will most frequently get a huge advantage here. So black can hope that to gain some advantage here only if white doesn't know anything about this opening. If you if you know just few moves of the theory, we will easily be in a huge advantage here. So that was all for this one. We are stepping back on the second move for black. So we covered now the five so-called elephant gambit. I will cover one move which is not very common, but some beginners like to play early with the queen, so you can expect at certain amount this move, queen to f6. But queen to f6 actually achieves nothing for black. Queen f6 protects the pawn on e5, but nothing else. You can simply play developing move again, knight c3, and actually you are in a big positional advantage. White has lead in the development, and actually although material is equal, this is already a decent advantage for white. So we will not cover further this line. We are stepping back, and we will now cover another gambit which can be played by black, which is probably even worse than elephant gambit. This is so-called Bush-Gus gambit, bishop to c5. Bishop to c5 is really a bad move, but some beginners will try to attack your f2 pawn immediately, both with the bishop, and you will see soon also with the queen. So they will hope that that they will find you unprepared for this, but actually the real truth is that first of all we have a free pawn. Do not forget to take this pawn first. Do not be afraid of the black's attack. Simply knight takes e5 is our move here, and you will see now that actually we don't be afraid of this attack. Whatever black plays, black plays, we will have a decent defense, and actually we will be in a huge advantage already from the second move of the opening. So what can we expect now that black will play? There are plenty of options for black. Let us see them. If black plays knight c6, immediately challenging our knight on e5. So if knight c6, we will not exchange. We have a pawn up. We have a lead in the development. We will step back. We can take, but I recommend, and also this will be a good position for white here. But I recommend that we save this knight for now. That we step back a knight f3 here. Okay, we step back. Another option for black is queen e7, attacking our knight this way. Now there is a better move than retreating to f3, and this move is d4. We are protecting this knight in this way. D4 is protected by the queen, so we can play a d4 here, and we are also in a huge positional advantage here, and a pawn up also. I am stepping back. Actually, those two moves which we saw now, knight retreats to f3 and d4 will be the common moves in this position in most lines here, and we are pawn up and in a huge advantage already from the opening. But black can decide to play like this. Maybe some players will immediately further sacrifice this bishop, so they sacrifice the pawn, and now they will sacrifice the bishop, taking on f2. Bishop takes f2. A check. You can expect this move from some unsound attackers, so you can expect that some players will play like this. Yes, if you take with the king, now king takes f2, which is actually the best move. Your king is exposed, but you are actually a full piece up, and you can defend this, and actually you can win this game. I will show you how to defend now if black goes with some attacks. First, if black plays f5, maybe strange move, but I have already said that I will cover all frequently played moves both on amateur levels, and also on master levels. So f5 is one of those moves. After f5, you simply go with another strong developing move, which is bishop to c4. You open you you open your pieces, and you are actually a piece up, and you are going for an attack here immediately. So bishop c4 is recommended here. With f5, black further weakens his king side. Also the path to your king is also not so clear now, so f5 was really a strange move here, but it is played from time to time. Okay, we step back. If black plays c6, so this is a common move, c6. There is a famous Caro-Kann defense which starts with c6 immediately on the first move. So some players place c6 and d4 later, so you can expect also this. But we will now simply push our pawn d4, protecting our knight on e5, and actually, more importantly, we are fully controlling the center this way, and we are also a piece up, so we are winning here. Okay, we step back. If instead black attacks our knight, playing d6, of course we don't have much options, and we will retreat knight f3. Knight f3 is the best move here. Also, black can attack our knight with a queen to f6, which is also a check, which is also a double attack, but we are safe. We are again playing knight f3, saving both pieces, stopping the check and saving our knight. Okay, what else can black plays? What else can black play? Black can play developing move, knight f6. This is both a developing move and also attacking our pawn on e4. So after this move, we will protect our pawn. We will play knight c3. Knight c3 protects our pawn on e4, so we play this here. And finally, what you can expect by attackers who know why they played bishop sacrifice on f2, you can expect that they will continue their attack with queen to h4 check. So queen to h4 check is really an interesting move, attacking both your king on f2 and pawn on e4, and actually there are only two good moves for white here. There are only two good moves here. There is a g3 move, attacking the queen and stopping the check, but actually I recommend that we go bravely with this move, not king somewhere in the center, but a king to g1. So if you go with the king in the center, although you are a piece up, this will be a disaster for white. So I recommend a king to g1 here. King to g1, and although now you didn't castle, your rook is at the moment stuck at h1, but this is a huge advantage for white. There are no other real threats which black can expose to you at this point, so you are safe after king to g1. So you need to know this move in this position. King to g1 is safe for white, and you can bravely fight to prove your advantage here. Okay, I will step back to the move number 3. So we saw now what happens if black sacrifice the bishop on f2, and we will also see several other options. If black decides to play d6, attacking your knight, you will simply retreat with the knight to f3. So you are a pawn up and in a good shape here. Okay. Another option is knight to f6, attacking your pawn on e4. But now actually you don't need to defend that pawn. You have a better option, pushing d4. Counter attacking the bishop on c5. So d4 is recommended here. You can immediately punish that bishop on c5, which was the bad second move by black here in this position. Okay, we step back, and we see the last two frequently played options. If queen to f6, you can again play d4. d4 will both protect your knight on e5 and also attack the bishop on c and attack the bishop on c5. So d4 is playable, and d4 will also be the move in our last option here. If black decides immediately going to queen queen h4. So if black decides to attack, not sacrificing the bishop on f2, but attacking f2 with two pieces, threatening actually to mate. And you of course need to be careful. There are several protecting moves here, but the best one is again simply d4, cutting the line of that bishop to f2. So we again simply attack the knight with d4, and black has nothing of his attack to f2, and actually we are winning already here. Okay, these were some very bad responses for black, which give you frequently huge advantage, but of course you need to know how to play those gambits which we now saw. And we are finally going back to the second move, and we are going to see, and we are now going to see some good options, for black in this position, and these will be first the so-called Philidor defense. So if black decides to protect e5 pawn with d6, this is the famous Philidor defense. And now we will cover how to play against Philidor defense. This is not now a huge advantage for white, and d6 is already playable even on master level, but it's in my opinion it's not the best move for black. Also, I will not play this. This is already a small positional advantage for white, and I recommend that we go immediately with d4 to the center. So we are immediately challenging the center in this way. So we are playing d4. Okay, now we will see what are possible responses by black here. There are really many possibilities here for black. We will cover frequently played ones, as I always said, both on amateur and master level. So let me see what happens if queen to e7 is played. So if queen to e7, we will simply of course, after exchanging the pawn on d4, our e4 pawn will be unprotected, attacked by that queen on e7. So I recommend that we play here knight c3, protecting e4 pawn here. So developing move knight c3, also protecting e4 pawn is a good option, and my recommendation here. Okay, we step back. Another possibility for black is going with f5. And some players like such attacks, although weakening their king side, so they will play f5. So what is my recommendation here? You can take the pawn. You can take the pawn on f5. But the better way of playing this is developing a move bishop to c4, immediately challenging black weakened black's king side. So bishop c4 is recommended here. And now, there are some tricky lines here. We will see what actually happens now and why this bishop on c4 is so dangerous. Because we will frequently be able to take on e5. So let us see possibilities. If black simply plays, for example, h6, preventing us for playing knight to g5, attacking f7 for the second time. But actually there is another possibility here. We can actually, instead of knight g5, we can take knight with the knight on e5. And this is actually the strongest move here. We are sacrifice our knight here, but there is no option for black to take that knight. If pawn takes the knight here on e5, what happens? We have queen to h5 check with a huge advantage, and black will eventually be mated very, very soon. I will not cover all the lines here. I will only say that the best response by black is actually king to d7. But now you simply take the pawn on f5 with further check, and you are in a huge advantage, although you sacrificed the knight on e5. So try to be brave and to play like this. So let me step back. So if some strange move here for black, some not good move which threatens something and develops something, you simply can take with the knight on e5 with the idea of queen h4 queen h5 check, and so I encourage you to play like this. But let us see other options by black here, and shall we always play this knight sacrifice, knight takes e5, or we have some other options in some other variations. Okay, we step back. If instead of h6 black plays a knight to c6, now we cannot take on e5 because this knight on c6 is also protecting e5, but now we can go with further attack with with knight g5. Now knight g5 attacks f7 square for the second time, and there are not much choices there are not much choices for black here how to survive this. I will not go further for this with this, but whatever now black plays, you will have good options either attacking immediately on f7 or pushing d5 or developing another knight. So you have simply a nice position here. Okay, I step back. If black decides to take your d4 pawn, so if e takes d4, I recommend that now you castle. You can castle, so you don't need to be afraid if, for example, black decides to take your pawn on e4 because you also have this black pawn to takes on d4, and so here you are in a huge advantage already here out of the opening. So after e takes d4, we castle, short castle. If black decides to play knight f6, which is actually a natural move after f5, we first push the pawn on f5 and then putting our knight behind the pawn. This is a frequent motive, and it seems like a good development here, but it is not, because we again have knight g5 attacking f7 for the second time, and there is no real defense, so your attack is very sound, and with accurate play you are going to win this game. So I step back, and we saw the last few options here. If black pushes his f pawn further with f4, what we can do, I recommend that we simply weakens that pawn chain simply by taking on e5. So d takes e5 is now my recommended move here. And finally, if black decides to take on e4, so if f takes e4, we will again sacrifice the knight. Because this move was nothing better than h6, which we saw already before. We again have a strong attack here with queen h5 check. So we sacrifice the pawn, and actually taking the pawn is not the best option for a black at all here, but amateur players will most probably take that knight on h5, and now you have only one good move, but it is huge move, a huge advantage. So the only move only good move for white here is actually the winning move, queen h5 queen h5, queen h5 check. So whatever now black plays, you will eventually further go either to f5 with the check or e5 with the check, depending what black will play here. So we are stepping back, and so actually f5 was a mistake for black here. f5 is not playable by black here. So we step back to see other options, and another option is actually knight to d7. Developing move knight to d7 is already a better move here. So knight d7 is we are already in the theory for Philidor defense here. This is one of possible moves by theory here. But now we already have a small advantage here in the center, and I recommend that we go further in the center with the c4, with the c pawn playing c4 here. So this is recommended here. I will step back, and we will see several other options for black here. Knight f6 is another developing move for black here, attacking our e4 pawn. And so what to play here? We can protect this pawn either with knight to c3 or some other move like bishop to d3, but I recommend that we go for exchange variation here, that we go for d takes e5. And we will go a little bit more deeply here to see why I recommend this, why it is good to go for the pawn exchange here. So after d takes e5, actually black needs to know how to play. The best move for black here will be knight takes e4. So if knight takes e4 here, we will play queen to d5. Attacking that knight, and with further possibilities for the attack later. We are already to play, for example, bishop to g5 at some point, and so on. This knight will need to retreat, and although it is not a huge advantage for white, it is a decent position for white here. So after knight takes e4, I recommend queen to d5. And actually, any other response by black is bad, is much worse. Let us see two frequently played ones. If knight f to d7, so f knight. So this knight on f6 is under attack, and one option to save the knight is knight f to d7. But what happens after knight f to d7? We go with bishop g5, attacking the queen. And now we will see some options what happens here. If black plays f6, actually this is not a good way to stop our pawn, because we also to stop our bishop, because we also have this e5 pawn here, and we will now take with the pawn here. And now if black takes on f6 with the knight, we will play knight c3 developing move. And it seems that we are only a pawn up, but actually we are in a huge positional advantage here. And I step back. If instead g takes f6, we will retreat with the bishop to e3, and we are again in a big positional advantage here, and also a pawn up, and also black has completely ruined king side, and queen side is not developed at all, so it should be a win for white here with uh, uh, um, accurate with uh, uh, accurate play here. Okay, we step a little bit back. Black has some other options here instead of playing this f6 move. After bishop g5, black can also play bishop e7. We now exchange. We didn't come here with the bishop on g5 without purpose, so we are taking on e7. And after queen takes e7, we actually have a nice move which is actually winning for white. This is e takes the d6. There is no good move for there is no good move for black here. We are in a huge positional advantage here, and whatever black plays here, we will either um, we will play some developing move, either knight to c3 or some move with the queen. So we are in a good position here. Okay, I step back, and we see what happens if instead of knight f to d7, black takes e5 pawn. This seems a logical move, but actually black cannot afford this exchange. After d takes e5, retaking with the pawn is not an option at all. It seems on the first side that material is equal, but what happens here is the next. We simply exchange the queens. Queen takes d8 check. King takes is the only move here, and now we take e5 pawn. Black cannot simply copy us and take on e4 because we have this fork free pawn on f7 with the fork winning the rook. So after this position, actually white is a pawn up and also with the lead in the development, and actually white is winning here. Okay, we step back to move number 3, and we see several last options for black here. Some players will maybe play f6 immediately, further further protecting the pawn on e5, but this move weakens the king side. So I recommend again bishop c4 attacking on f7. So in this position, bishop c4 is again recommended with a good play for white here. We step back. After knight c6, after knight c6, I recommend that we push the pawn chasing that knight. So d5 is now recommended. We step back. If instead bishop g4, after bishop g4, bishop g4 is pinning our knight on f3, so we need to be a little bit more careful about our d4 pawn now. But I actually recommend that we simply again exchange that pawn for e5 pawn. So d takes e5 is again recommended. And again, retaking with the pawn is not an option because we are again in huge advantage after queen takes d8. After exchanging the queens, we again have a free pawn immediately attacking the bishop on g4, and we are again in advantage here. And finally we step back and we see the last option for black here, which is probably the best one. If simply e takes d4. So after d4, black captures with the pawn. This is the main line of the Philidor defense. But actually, computer says that we are with accurate play in disadvantage. Of course, we need to prove that. So I recommend that we first take with the knight. And now we are going to see how to play after different responses by black. We will most probably go with some developing move like knight c3 in most cases, but let me see what are possibilities here. And really after some strange moves like h6 or excuse me, a6, after a6 or h6, or even some other moves like g6. We will simply go with knight c3. And also after most moves here, let us see other options by black here. If black plays bishop to d7, we again play knight c3. Developing move, protecting our knight on e4, and with a good play here. If knight c6, if knight c6, attacking our pawn on d4, but our our knight on d4, but the knight is defended by the queen. I again recommend that we simply go with knight c3 here. Also after bishop e7, knight c3 is recommended. And maybe the only move after which we are not going to play knight c3 is actually c5 move. Sorry, I need to step back. So if black plays if black plays c5, chasing our knight, we now need to retreat, and there are many options. Maybe most players will play knight f3 and or maybe knight knight b3, but I recommend here that we play knight e2. Knight e2 is a decent option here because we are ready to push our king side pawns. We are ready to push f4, g4, h4, going for the king side attack here. Black has Black has no lead in the development. Black is pretty passive so far here, so not showing all our cards at the moment. It's a reasonable option to play knight e2 here, and I actually recommend to play this move here. And finally, the main line here is a knight to f6. Knight to f6, attacking our e4 pawn, but I again recommend knight c3, which actually also protects e4 pawn. So this was a Philidor defense. We are not going deeper, so you need to know those first few moves, because actually you are ahead in development. There is not a big advantage here, but you have a nice play you have a nice play by white here if you play correctly in those first few moves here. Okay, and finally we are going for the last option, and this will be the huge one. So we are going back to move number 2, and we will see the famous Petrov's defense or Russian defense. So we will cover now knight f6 move here. And the theory is pretty extensive here. And so we will go again, not so deeply, but broadly in this defense, that we know how to play against this. Well, this opening is dangerous both for black and white. Both sides need to know how to play accurately this. So I recommend that we go with the main line. We simply take the pawn on e5. We will now see that if black copies us, that this is not the best play by a black here. It is playable, it is not an enormous advantage immediately, but it is already a small mistake by black here. But let me cover all options for black here. The best one will be d6. d6 is the theory. d6 is the main line here. But let me see. Do we have other options too here, which we can expect by black here? And actually, we can expect several. We can expect several other options. We can expect several other options by black here. So these are first bishop to c5. So what happens if black plays bishop to c5? I recommend that we simply play d4, and actually this is already a decent advantage a decent advantage for white here. We are immediately attacking the bishop on c5. We are protecting our knight on e5. We are controlling the center, and this is already a decent advantage for white. We will see later why it is dangerous for black to take on e4 immediately. And now, of course, also the bishop is hanging, so we can simply take the bishop. Another option for black is trying to play queen e7. Queen e7, immediately attacking our knight on f5, and also e4 pawn. So here, going back with the knight will not be the best option. Here, going with d4 is again the strongest option. So we are controlling the center, we are protecting our knight on e5, and this is also the strongest option here, going with d4. We are stepping back, and now we are going to cover what happens if black takes the pawn on e4. So if black takes the pawn on e4, we can also play d4, but actually the strongest play by white is here is queen to e2, immediately attacking knight on e4 and protecting indirectly our knight on e5. Now, the only good move by black is a queen to e7. But we are going to first to cover other options too. So what happens in other options? Why we are winning in other situations here immediately? If if black plays bishop to d6, attacking our e5 knight, we simply win the knight. Queen takes e4, protecting also our knight on e5. So this is already winning for white. If black thinks that he can save his knight by playing knight c5, we are already winning the queen. Knight c6 is both check and attack on the queen. So knight c6 is the key move in most positions here, why this was dangerous for black. So knight c6 is now winning. Black is in the check, and actually whatever black plays, we are winning the queen. If black tries to attack our knight with f6, now we have very strong queen h5 check. Queen h5 check, and nothing helps. Probably the best for black is trying to play g6, but after g6 there is a famous tactic. We can take on g6 and black cannot retake because we are winning the rook here. So this was already winning for white. We are threatening to checkmate on f7, and there is no real defense here. Okay, let us see other options. If black decides to go out with the queen first, if queen h4, now we really need to know how to play this. Most players play g3 here in this position, but g3 is actually not the winning move for white here, but d3 is winning move for white here. So our f2 pawn is protected at the moment. We are now attacking knight on e4, opening line for our bishop, and actually d3 is the winning for white in this position. I will not go further, but black has not good options here at all. Let me see, for example, what happens if black tries to save his knight going back to f6. Now we have again double attack. We are again winning the queen. Knight f3 is now again check and attack on the queen, like previously on c6. Now knight on f3 is a killer move here. Okay, so d3 in this position was a key move. If knight to d6, if black retreats with the knight to d6, it doesn't help because we are again winning the queen with knight c6 double threat, check, and attacking the queen. Okay, I'm stepping back. If black tries to save the knight with f5 move, Actually, we again have queen h5 check. And again, g5 doesn't help, but it is actually the best move. So black has nothing better than g6. And after g6, we take with the knight. And actually, uh, after this, we can again take the rook, but even stronger is maybe taking on g6. It's not so clear. g6 is with a check, and we have some further attacks. So you can play both. You can either take with the on h8, and probably is the best to take on h8 if you are not prepared well for the positions after queen takes g6 check. So the safer way is to simply take the rook. Okay, so it's very dangerous to open the line for our queen here, so f5 was also not an option here. We step back. If knight f6, retreating to f6 also doesn't help, because also we also have a knight c6 double attack, and we are winning the queen. So what else can black place here? Let us see. Black can try to play d6 now, but it is a little bit too late. d6 should be played on the previous move. Now d6 is too late for the black, attacking our knight on e5. Knight on e4 is hanging. We can play even that, but there is a stronger move. Now knight f7. Sacrificing the knight on f7 is the key move here in this position. After d6, now we simply sacrifice our knight here, because after king takes, we are giving the knight back. We are now taking on e4, and actually what is happening, we are a pawn up, and also black kings is in the center. There is no castle anymore, and we have a decent advantage here. So this was also not the good option for black. Also, the good option is not d5, trying to protect the knight on e4, because now we simply have d3 move. It seems that maybe we also have f3 move, but f3 move doesn't work here, because after f3, actually black is winning after queen h4 check. So we cannot allow to weaken our king side here. So instead of f3, the right way to chase the knight on on e4 is by d3 move. And actually that knight is lost now. Knight cannot retreat because we again have knight c6 double attack, winning the queen. And actually we are stepping back. We are stepping back, and the only good option here for black is actually queen to e7. Queen to e7 is the only good move, but anyway we are in a slight advantage here as white, because now we take the knight here, and we will see that whatever black plays, we will either be in a huge advantage or at least a small positional advantage. So what happens now? If now black plays d5, attacking our queen, we will simply retreat with the queen to e2. But actually we are protecting. But actually we are a piece up. We are a piece up, and actually we can save our knight on e5 here. So we are winning with the piece up. If black plays queen takes e5, which is of course a stupid move, but some beginner players will play, especially in blitz games, and they are simply losing the queen this way. So we are stepping back. So what else can black play? If black tries knight c6, if black plays knight c6, but doesn't help, because we can protect our knight with d4, and we are again a piece up. So this also doesn't help. If black plays f6, trying to attack our knight this way, we again have d4 pawn. Of course, we cannot retreat with the knight because our queen is hanging, but we have the d4 pawn here. And finally, the best play by black here is d6. The best play here is d6. Of course, we again cannot retreat with the knight because we are losing the queen, but we will instead play d4. Of course, our knight will fall now. Black will take. Black will take with the pawn, but we are retaking, and we are in a solid position here, and actually with a pawn up. It is interesting that maybe some players will not immediately take our knight on e5, but will try something else. Let me see what they can try. They can try to play f5, attacking our queen, but simply queen e3 then. Also, they can try to play f6. It's not safe to retreat our knight, but we have a further developing move. We can play knight c3, and we are ahead in development here. And actually, if now black takes our knight, it's too late. If they take either with d or f pawn, we actually have a very strong move, knight d5, attacking the queen with huge pressure, and white is winning here. So f6 was a poor move here. They can also try to play knight c6. But it doesn't help. We have two very strong moves, either bishop to b5 here, or bishop to g5 on the other side, attacking the queen. I recommend this one. I recommend attacking the queen. Bishop g5, immediately going for the strong attack on the king side. So bishop g5 is a move here. And there are several options for black. If a queen e6, then we will further attack with bishop c4 with the tempo, attacking the queen again. If queen takes g5, it seems that our bishop was not protected, but we actually have a strong move here, knight c6 with the check. And actually black needs to stop the check, for example bishop e6, and we will now we even don't need to save our pawn on c6 now. We can go further with developing move knight c3, because taking our knight on c6 is not an option because of simple fork. Queen takes c6 fork, winning the rook. So this was really interesting, and we are in a huge advantage here anyway. And finally, if after bishop to g5 black plays f6, Now we are going on the attacking on the other side. Now bishop b5. Now bishop b5 with very strong attack. And let us see what happens if black thinks that he has a free knight, a free bishop here. If f takes g5, we are now taking here with the check. And again, retaking doesn't help because of the fork. Queen takes c6 check and winning the rook. So you need to know those tactical combinations here, but actually this is a crushing for white here. So there is no good defense here. Okay, I step back. So as I already said, the best here is simply to take our knight, and we retake with the pawn up. Of course, although it is a pawn up, it is not a huge advantage for white, but it is, and actually this whole line was not the best. So let me step back. Let me step back to the third move. So after we take the pawn on e5, it is not the best option for black to take on e4, but going immediately with d6. Because before we are going for that main line, we will first shortly cover another possibility, a knight c6. This is also a famous gambit, which some players love to play. I can't remember the name at the moment, but I will show you few moves how to play here. So if knight c6 at this point, we will take the knight. We will take the knight. Black will most probably take with d pawn. This is the idea of this gambit. So players who play this will play like this. And I recommend that we simply go here with d3. We are simply protecting the pawn on e4. So in this position, we are a pawn up, and also black has doubled pawns, and actually black will still have some threats here, but actually we are better here. So if now black decides to go with bishop c5, threatening to f2, we will simply develop the bishop on. We are simply going to develop the bishop on e2, and we are ready to castle. If Black decides to go for an attack immediately. Knight to g4. We will simply take that knight. And now probably the main threat in this variation is queen to h4. And now you simply need to protect yourself here. And actually there are several good options here. Probably queen to f3 is the best. Although queen to d2 also works, g3 also works, and there are ways how you can protect yourself, and actually you are up in material, so you don't need to be afraid of this gambit. So we are going back to the main line. So we are going back to move number 3, and we are going to see what happens if black plays d6. This is now the main line of the Petrov defense, or Russian defense in another name. And we are simply going to retreat now with the knight to f3. And now it is safe for black to take on e4. And black will most probably take this on e4. Only other reasonable option is maybe to try bishop g4, but bishop g4 is already a mistake, because we can now save our pawn on e4. Probably the easiest and the best way is simply knight c3. So we are now protecting our e4 pawn, and we are a pawn up also with nice development. So actually there is no reason for black to try anything else than simply to taking our knight on our pawn on e4, which is the main line of the Petrov defense. And now there are several options how to play this. There is no only one way, but I recommend that we play d4 immediately with the pawn to the center. So this is probably also the most commonly played variant in this Petrov defense. So I recommend d4. Okay, let us see now what can black play here. Actually, d5 is the main line, but let me cover other possible responses too. If black plays some other moves, for example, if black retreat to f6, we are going with developing move bishop to d3. And bishop to d3 will be the frequent move in this Petrov defense for white here, as we will see in other variants too. Going back, if queen e7 move, then I recommend that we go bishop to e2 instead, because black has some potentials with discovered checks. So queen is on e-file together with our king. I recommend that we simply play bishop to e2 here in this position. Going back, if now bishop to g4, I recommend again that we go with our main developing move, which is bishop d3 here. Also, if black goes with some less active move like bishop e7, we will again play bishop to d3, also attacking. This is not only the good developing move, but also attacking the knight on e4. And finally, we are covering the main line. If black simply pushes d6 to d5, protecting the knight on e4. Now we are again going with bishop to d3. As I said, this is the key idea in this in this line, that whenever we are allowed, we are not playing bishop to e2, but to d3, preparing short castle soon. Now there are again several options for black here. We will cover all frequently played ones. If now f5, so if black now plays f5, which some players like to play, we will simply go with c4. We are not afraid on the king side, and we are ready to castle soon, but we are instead counter-attacking on the queen side with this c4 move. Stepping back, if knight f6, going back, doing nothing, instead of opening E line, we will simply castle, moving our king to safety. Also, on some other moves, like bishop to g4 on this point, I also recommend that we castle here. We could play some other moves here, like h3, for example, immediately challenging that bishop, but I will recommend playing similar moves as long as we can, and as long as we not have a huge advantage with some other moves. So I will recommend playing short castle here, even on some other moves. For example, if black, instead of g4, played to f5 with the bishop, we will again play short castle here. So this will be the common move. We prepared everything for short castle with solid development, and if there is not good reason, we will actually always short castle here on the seventh move. But let us see some other options for black. Black can now play also bishop e7. Not very active move, but also preparing short castle, and we will now, as announced, also played a short castle. But as these are now already main lines, we will go a little bit further. And now there are several possibilities for black here. If black plays bishop g4 at this point, I will again recommend a c4. So this c4 will be a move probably in this pattern of defense at some point. Anyway, and now after bishop g, g4. We already castled. I recommend that we play c4. Okay. If now bishop instead of g4 to f5, we can also play c4, but now I recommend that we go with rook e1. Black is protecting his knight on e4, also on the same diagonal with our bishop, and I recommend that we don't need to hurry with c4 here. I will simplify it immediately for e4 square with rook e1 here. If black goes more passively, for example with short castle, now I will go with c4 again. And finally, the last option in this variant, if black decides to develop knight to c6 here, now I will also develop the knight rather than c4 immediately. We are not going to knight with to c3 because we are planning to play c4 anyway in this variant, but we are now developing the knight on d2. So knight b to d2 in this position. We are stepping back to move number 6 for black. If black decides to go with bishop to d6, so more active square for the bishop instead of e7, black can decide going for bishop to d6, and this is really commonly played in this position, but we will again going with short castle. And now black doesn't have much options. Black will either play bishop to g4 or short castle. In both cases, we will again go with c4 on the king side as announced as one of the main ideas in this variants. So again, both on bishop g4 and short castle, we play c4. And finally, we will see the last possibility for black, which is also a good move. So there is now only one main line here. So bishop d4 is one, and the second one is knight to c6 at this position. So knight to d6 is also good, frequently played line, but we again, as announced, go for a short castle first, and later we are going either for c4 or knight b to d2. Black has several possibilities. Again, black will most probably play with the bishops. So if bishop to f5, or this same bishop to g4, we will again play c4 as already seen before. Also, if black plays with another bishop to d6, I also recommend that we go with c4 move, and only if black plays passively with bishop to e7, I think that it is better before going with c4 that we first develop our knight to d2. So knight b to d2 is again recommended in this position. This is now the same position that we already that we have already seen in one of the previous lines. So that will be all. I'm not going very deeply in those openings because I am going broadly. I am going to teach you how to play against all frequently play lines both on amateur and master level, and I simply cannot cover everything so broadly, but actually we are already developed well in most of those positions we encounter in these openings. We are already developed well, and we can fight easily for the rest of the game. So you cannot learn everything. You cannot win immediately from the opening, but if you know the theory, if you will watch those videos several times, you will learn many winning positions, and you will frequently be very good, if not with huge advantage out of the opening. Okay, see you in the next video. In the next video we will cover the famous French defense. So after our e4, which is our choice for the first move, black will play e6, the so-called French defense, and we are going to see those lines in our next video. See you soon.